Greetings, beloved beings. Welcome to Sophia Speaks. This series is about Sophia Christ consciousness, source consciousness, sort of shared through the human lens of divine embodiment. To really learn more, for context, I would point you to episode 1, where I share my story of how this all kind of came to be. And as we move forward, my name is Megan, and I embody Sophia Christ, or source consciousness, through this human vessel, this body. So we share, and we teach, we learn, we share frequency through story, through allegory. And last episode, we talked about my personal love story, wherein I met my human divine, or my human and divine partner, really, in one vessel. And that kind of took place right around the time of my own Sophia awakening, and it's been beautiful and sublime. But today I would like to share a little bit more about getting there and the human experiences, my love life, and I'll speak in fairly general terms about this to protect those who have been involved. And but I really want to share how my journey, my own personal experience and learning, etc., has prepared the ground for being able to receive my partner. So I'm a Libra, a human Libra. This human form is a Libra, and Libras are ruled by Venus, and I'm sure you know through your own experience that Libras have qualities of falling in love really easily, doing a lot of dating, and being able to really receive love quite a lot as well. So as a small child, I remember often doing things like going up to random, like toddler child, right? Going up to random boys and like giving them hugs. And from my perspective, I was recognizing their soul, and I felt profound love. And I would see someone and just, I would remember them. My soul would remember them. I would know them. And this was always, I was continually, I had multidimensional memory and experience and perception. And so I was always in love. I would always recognize lovers from other dimensions and timelines and past lives, etc. And that was a lot, because the number of crushes this girl had, guys. And yeah, just, it'd be in kindergarten, and I don't remember names, little boys coming up to me going, "Megan, I love you," and, "Oh, well, you can sit next to me in circle time." And this was constantly my reality. I was always in the love field, I suppose. And there was no beginning to the it was my whole life. But I mentioned in episode 2 that I grew up in a very religious household. And so to some degree, my ability to act on those intense feelings that I had was constrained by belief of what was right or sinful or allowed, or etc. And in some ways it's good, because my parents were able to protect me. from myself and from others. And sometimes I did what I wanted anyway. And I cannot tell you the number of wild things I said to boys and emails that I sent and phone calls that I made. And it's like being in a constant state of limerence with like a lot of people. So not necessarily grounded and healthy and in reality and the best thing. And yeah, I'm gonna let that be as it stands. So we fast forward, there were relationships and crushes, deep, profound, ridiculous, over the top crushes in some cases. And fast forwarding to my early 20s, I was living at home. I had finished schooling. I finished part of my post-secondary, and I was in the workforce. And my parents were incredibly overbearing and difficult for me to live with. I was very uncomfortable with the religious side of things. And I was also quite uncomfortable with the world as I was encountering it in the workforce. I met someone in that space and we started dating, and things moved fairly quickly. And we ended up secretly living together. I was keeping this from my parents. And I felt this intense stress because that's sinful. You can't do that. You're going to go to hell. And so I suggested to him we should get married, which went against every single fiber of my soul. But I didn't know how to escape my family. And as I was living with someone and I wanted to be able to do that, I thought that was the only way out. And so we did. We got married, and the stress of that, the day after I announced my engagement, my father almost died, put him in the hospital. But we did it. We got married, and saying my vows, everything inside of me was screaming that I was making the wrong decision, and I forced it and I did it anyway. And I spent 5 years being married in a very unhappy marriage. I was not seen for who I was. I was very much taken advantage of. My husband's world really was close around him and kind of revolved around him. And there were reasons for that I had compassion for. But to the extent that I lost so much of myself in trying to be the things and do the things. And I had so little time for myself. And the marriage got to a point where eventually I was going to bed at 6 p.m. so that I could have some time in bed before he came to bed, just my alone time. And then eventually we split bedrooms and I slept alone. And it was very soon after that I realized, what am I doing here? I had to leave. I had a really good friend who was supporting me on my healing journey, my spiritual journey. It was because of my husband that I was able to finally remove myself from the church. He had perspectives that I couldn't argue with the logic of them. And so it was like my way out of one prison, but then kind of moving into another. And so I'm really actually very grateful because extracting myself from the church was incredibly painful and incredibly difficult. But because there was someone who was looking at things rationally and logically, sort of helping me to see that it was possible. And I don't think I would have been able to do that by myself. But then I was in a marriage that was incredibly unhappy. So I won't go too deep into the particulars, again, of the unhappiness and the why. But I had had several crazy experiences on a spiritual level up to that point. I had the support of this friend who was assisting me in my spiritual journey. And I remember going for a walk with her one day, and she finally just said, like, Megan, this isn't it. This is not a good marriage. You are clearly unhappy, and this person doesn't love you. And it took about a year and a half after that before I finally got up the gumption to tell him that I was going to leave. And so I did. And it was the scariest thing I'd ever done. And for reasons, I did not take what was legally mine in dividing the property, which was ironic because I worked in family law. And I chose to let him have virtually everything. Took a dog, took a car, and I left him with the house and most of its contents and everything. And I started my life over. And I found this really cool apartment that was an old house that had been, I don't know how to describe it. Anyway, it was like this little loft. And my dog and I began life over. So I was recovering from the pain of divorce and finding myself again and experiencing life in all of its details and living the Libra dream and doing lots and lots and lots of dating. And in that period, this was where I began to delight in sort of the sacral experience of the divine feminine, in the juicy creative energy that comes through the womb space, in the pleasure, the desire that we get to experience in this dimension, the freedom, the ability to love big. There was a lot that I was able to get out of my system. There was a lot of joy, a lot of chaos, but finding myself and loving myself and coming into a state of joy in that goddess essence. I found myself really embodying the essence of Aphrodite at that time. And how that energy was able to flow through me in my experience was really empowering and really beautiful. I would not say it was balanced, but it was what I needed. It was personal celebration. It was thriving in experience. And it was necessary for what came next. I believe that because I found myself, I was empowered as the divine feminine goddess, I learned about the power of creation and the power of holding space. It was because I came into that flow in a strong and confident way. It took its time. But because I was able to do that, I finally landed at a place where I was able to hold the emerging divine masculine. And I spoke about the divine masculine in my last episode. The divine feminine has been awakening here on earth. We're in this big phase of the awakening of the divine feminine, of the liberation. There is so much patriarchal harm and suffering that has happened to the divine feminine here in this experience. If you're familiar with the Gnostic texts, this is very deeply connected to the Pistis Sophia experience. This is, even if you're not connected to the Gnostic texts, you're probably familiar with the Rose lineage, with the Marys, with the Venusian lineage. All of this has been emerging on this earthly plane, in this divine grid, because it is here where we heal it all. It is through acknowledging the pain and the suffering, which is intense and it is deep and it sucks to have to move through. But we move through that and then we harness and we embrace our sexuality as divine feminine women. We embody the Venusian love frequencies. We give love from that sacral place. And it has such profound impact in healing the density and healing the grid. And then it creates space to allow the Sophionic divine masculine, which is simply the space in which the all exists, to come in to this density. Ironically, the divine feminine is holding space for the space. Because, right? This place is in direct opposition to the divine masculine. It's coming, what we perceive or what we call the divine masculine, this idea of strength and protection, and all of those are rooted in divine feminine energy. Again, the creation story will come in its time, but suffice it to say that what we perceive or what we still are holding on to as being masculine energies are not from love. They're from patriarchy. Patriarchy is not love, it is control. And we are not here to be controlled. We are here to be liberated. And the beginning of that liberation comes from the feminine setting herself free and not allowing herself to be closed off, not allowing herself to be diminished or corrupted or told what to do or how to think or what to believe or how to act or speak, exist. We, as women, as the divine feminine, are all who are oriented towards the divine feminine, know liberation comes through feminine sexuality. It comes through allowing ourselves to be in that expression and in that joy. And as we do so, again, we create the field, we open it to allow for space. From the emanation thereof, all that is not in alignment within divine love begins to leave. And the space opens up and the divine masculine can come in. All right, beloved ones. So for each episode, we do a quantum code that will assist in the integration of the energies that we've talked about in each one. The material world is made up of frequencies of energy. And when we look really closely at these frequencies, we can see that they are written in code. These frequencies that we share here are pure codes that are directly in balance within divine love from source consciousness. And as we share them here, they get repeated and they imprint reality to realign within that love frequency. The code for today is 772981. 772981. 772981. This is the code of feminine sexual liberation and self-sovereignty. So this code releases shame. It releases guilt. It releases the pain and suffering around feminine sexuality. It restores us to pleasure as part of our sovereignty, part of our divine feminine life source. It allows us to return desire to the body. Desire being so key in creation. And we're able to do that with this code, to bring desire in without fear. This code heals us from the feelings of being used or managed, manipulated, controlled. And it helps us to reclaim our erotic life source, because it is our erotic life source from which creation emerges. This code can be said like a mantra. It can be written down on a piece of paper and put in your pocket, put it in your bra. You can throw it under your pillow and have it integrate through your being as you're sleeping. You can paint it all over the walls. Whatever you want to do, this code is your gift. And it is enough to receive it now. But you will find, as you return to it, as you repeat it, that it will unlock things within you. It will help to set you free. Of course, I don't know if it needs to be said, but in case it does, this is not just about the feminine human vessel, right? Men are equal potential carriers for feminine life force energy too. This is, the lines are not drawn in black and white. And so use this as you feel called. Everyone can use this. Beloved one, I want to thank you for joining me in this space, for witnessing yourself in your own liberation. I want to invite you to reach out to me. The website, thesophiapearl.com, contains information about my offerings and my work and my books and my one-on-one work, the coaching. We are here to do immense interdimensional collective work and very specific personal work as well. All that matters is coming into the vibration of divine love. And you are here to be supported, loved, and guided through all of that. And even if that feels like too much, you are welcome to sign up to our weekly newsletter to receive your free gift, the Energetic Reset, which is available also at thesophiapearl.com. Beloved one, I'm just witnessing an eagle flying across my window and celebrating and being in profound joy and love with you. Please like, subscribe, share, and assist in the extension of this energy reaching humanity and birthing a new collective in the vibration of divine love. Okay, now. All right, bye-bye.